This is the Focus Thron Impulse Speed. It's a 2014 version. They're coming out with another one for 2015. Pretty similar across the frame. It's an awesome bike. I mean, this is just, it's combining full suspension frame set that's available in 4 sizes with a mid-drive motor that's super powerful. And you can see down here that the down tube is actually built around the motor casing. So if you come into contact with like a rock or something, it's going to protect that. It's using the Impulse 2.0 system. Very responsive and very quiet. I've used other mid-drive systems on e-bikes before, namely Bosch, and this one's actually a little bit quieter. Very efficient, and this battery pack is enormous. It's like 612 watt hours, 17 amp hours. It's like twice as big as a lot of the other battery packs I've seen. You can see it's all right there in the middle of the bike. We've got these enormous 180 millimeter hydraulic disc brakes, Magura MT4. We've got this 10-speed Shimano XT low hanger right there in the back, because as with many mid-drive systems, this only has 1 ring in the front. Okay, so you got 10 gears to work with, and frankly that's pretty good. You know, it's enough to climb and do different things. There are 4 levels of assist, and that's great. You know, it's perfect for climbing, and you know, when you combine it with those 10 rings, you've got something that's very capable on or off-road. And that's one of the cool things about this bike, is that it could do both. And you might notice here that the tires, see, it's like these Schwalbe, what are they called? Moto X, Super Moto X. It's kind of the first time I've seen these. They're very high quality. Of course, Schwalbe is known for that. But they're a little bit bigger. They're kind of this balloon fat tire setup. 27 by 2.4 inch. So that 2.4 inch, it's the width here, and you can really see that, and you can feel it when you're cruising around on this. It's got really grippy, but at the same time a little bit more spongy than a road bike, something narrow. This is maneuverable, but it's still going to have that rolling momentum and that higher attack angle of a little bit larger wheel. So it's a great choice, and you can see there's quick release on the rear and at the front. And on the front, you might notice it's a 15 millimeter through axle, so that's going to make it a little bit tougher for hitting, you know, bumps and rocks, that kind of thing. It's also, in my experience, made it a little bit easier to service the wheel, to take it on or take it off, put it back on. The disc brake lines up just right, and as I mentioned, 180 millimeters front and rear. I believe it's like 12 millimeter through axle in the rear. And I love that they've actually got a kickstand here with adjustable length, because a lot of full suspension bikes, they forego the kickstand, and that's another area where this is sort of like a cross between a really comfortable an efficient around town kind of commuter bike and an off-road bike. As I was mentioning earlier, there's a huge battery pack. This also has a huge top speed. So it's a speed pedalec, which means you can get up to 28 miles per hour when you're pedaling in like the sport power mode. And that's pretty cool. You know, you're gonna get to work a little bit faster if that's how you're using it. You could hop off the tarmac and hit the trail on the way, no problem. This bike would totally do both. You've got this little mirror right here, which is pretty cool to see for safety. And anyway, before I get too far into that, let's talk about this suspension. So we've got Fox Float. It's very highly adjustable. So it's CDT, which stands for climb, descend, and trail. And depending on which setting you pick, just with this little, you know, flip thing, it gets like softer or stiffer, right? And the more stiff it is, the less bob you have, and the more efficient the bike works overall. So again, I've talked a little bit about the frame. It comes in 4 different sizes: 40, 44, 48, which is what I'm looking at here, medium, and that's about right for me. You know, I'm about like 5'9", weigh like 135 pounds, so this is like a decent size for me. And then if you're a little bit bigger, they've got the large, which is about 52 centimeter frame. So just really neat. Got this rubber slap guard, high quality all around. Focus bikes, they're part of the Derby Cycle Work group. It's like a 100-year-old company out of Europe, and this is German engineered and German designed bikes. It's pretty high quality stuff, and you can see the attention to detail all across the frame. And one of the other things I noticed is that it's got like this cool little license plate holder in the back, because some states in the US and most parts of Europe require you to have a license if you're riding a speed pedelec bike like this. Anyway, we got the Bush and Muller LED light in the rear, and it actually stays on after you turn the bike off for safety. It's kind of a standing light. The idea being, if you're parking the bike or you turn it off, people might still be coming from behind. You don't want them to hit you. We've got another really high-powered light in the front, Lumotech, very cool, and it's built like right into that tapered tube. Just a lot to say about this system. So anyway, let's get back to the drive system, like what makes this cool as an electric bike. We've got a 350 watt mid-drive motor geared, and this is part of the Impulse 2 system. It uses sort of like a torque sensor. It can sense when you're pushing down on the pedals, so it's pretty efficient that way, and it's fairly responsive, as well as a speed sensor. As you can see back here, there's like this little magnet, and it passes this sensor right here, and that's how the bike can kind of regulate the power output. And by combining those two different sensors, it can actually sense when you're changing gears and lets off a little bit off the motor, because you don't want to be mashing gears or grinding. And with some more basic mid-drive system, it just doesn't know. It just keeps on pulling, and you end up, you know, wearing out your components a little faster. So that's very cool. And then the battery, 36 volt, 17 amp hour lithium ion. It is removable, and I do have the key right here. Check this out. See, it's got like an LED power gauge on it, so you can tell how full it is even when it's not on the bike. Put my key in like that. You can see that the battery comes right off the frame, and that's key if you want to, you know, lighten up the bike. Put this on the back of your car. Maybe you have to carry the bike upstairs. You can take one trip with the battery pack, which weighs about 7 pounds, and then one trip with the bike. So again, this is kind of in that like 45-pound range, just the frame and the motor. And then plus the battery, you get up to about 52. Just pop that back on, turn the key. So when you're ready to go, you come up here to this little breakout button control panel here, press the power button. The display actually lights up. It's a monochrome LCD display. Not removable. That's one of the things I noticed. You can't take this off very easily if you're like at a bike rack, but it does swivel forward to back. You can see that, so that you're not going to get glare in your eyes if you're riding to work and the sun's rising behind you, and that's pretty cool. This set button here changes different like display outputs. You can sort of change the wheel size. You can change how quickly the motor responds. So like, does it respond immediately when you push down, or does it have a little bit more delay and kind of smooth things out? And that's going to be nice if you're climbing up hills and you want it to be much more responsive. So it's cool that they included that. You can see here there's an odometer. There is mile per hour. We've got a battery level indicator. And then of course it also controls your lights. So I held down the plus button for a second, and I got the front light. There's the rear light that we were talking about earlier. Pretty cool stuff. And then the different levels of assist. So the lowest level is Eco. And then if you go up a little bit, Sport, Power, and then Sport Power. So Sport Power is like that fourth level that's like super, you know, extra boost. And over here, it's the range. So it's estimating that we can go 33 miles in Sport Power, which is quite a bit. 44 in Power, 75 in Sport, and 114 in Eco. So I think the maximum range on this bike in Eco mode, with, you know, ideal conditions, you're kind of just going on flats, there's not like a huge wind blowing in your face, is 120 miles. That's just incredible with a bike like this. And again, I think it's a combination of the efficient mid-drive system that leverages that rear cassette with these performance sort of semi-slick tires and that huge battery pack. So just very, very cool. And there's that mirror again. So I'm actually here with Iris. How's it going?
It's going well.
And
cool
you're
bike,
like, yeah, it's a really cool bike. So I'm actually here at kind of the North American headquarters for Focus. Is that right? And you're like the North American rep for Focus and for Kelkoff.
Yeah.
Right,
Kelkoff.
right.
Yeah.
And I said rep, but you're like the brand man.
I'm the e-bike manager for both brands.
The e-bike manager. So you're the person. You're kind of like running the show.
You say it. No, we're bringing in those two brands into the US. We're launching our products next year, like full model line, and we're really proud that we can show you the 2014 Thron already, which is one of the best sellers in Europe. And I'm really excited to show you this bike because it's just really an awesome bike.
Yeah, and in the past, you know, this is present day is like 2014, late 2014 right now.
It is.
And I've actually reviewed some of these other bikes. Like which one is this right here? It's like Agatu?
Yeah, this is the Agatu.
The Agatu. Okay, and I've seen these at a couple of leading stores in the United States
Sure.
that
Yeah.
have kind of been test markets and, you know, exploring your bikes.
Yeah.
This is the bike that, of course, I'm really excited about with the suspension. And as you said, it's coming to the US like 2015 timeframe,
Yeah, as
right?
well.
Can you talk about this bell? Because this is one thing that I've always seen on your cycles. It's very unique.
It is. Well, this is just easy, right? I mean, I think safety is very important, especially those speed e-bikes. So, I mean, if you can just ring this bell and, I mean, everybody knows that you're there.
Yeah, they know you're coming in. You got the mirror.
Yeah,
That's
you got
pretty
the
cool.
mirror, the license plate if necessary. And I think this drive system is unique because of the climb assist. So
Can you show that? Yeah.
Yeah, I can show you here. If we go to settings.
Okay, so you're holding settings.
Yeah. Then we go to
Cool, you can delete device.
settings.
Okay.
Drive. If you're in one, it gives you not this kind of push feeling, but it's just, yeah, start even, you know, when you're like this.
Yeah.
You don't want to work too hard.
Yeah.
So it's getting you.
That's a really interesting
Takes
point
you
because
directly.
you're right. If you are on an incline, you want that help right away so that you don't have to like stand up out of
Yeah,
your saddle or hurt
that's
your
what it
knees.
is. So I did it in the morning. I was like this, and it takes you directly.
Okay.
It's awesome. Really.
Okay, well, I can't wait. I'm going to get back on this. I have ridden it around a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's one of the, you mentioned that the shift detection. So that's built into the motor and it uses the sensors. There's no like, there's no wiring coming from these brake levers. On some of the other bikes that use a pedalec sensor, they have like the Tektro brake levers and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's a different setup, but it's really neat that you guys have that. It's still listening very closely and the motor does shut off fairly efficiently when you stop pedaling as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and then these cool Ergon grips, I wanted to call those out with lockers. They feel pretty good. They've got kind of like the flat grip, which is good for trail riding. And there is no throttle on this bike, but that is, that's kind of I think that's the way a lot of these mid-drive bikes are going, and it seems like that makes it more of a bicycle. You know, it's a very responsive and powerful drive, and by activating by pedal only, you don't end up with like a half grip twist thing that might compromise your grip while you're actually riding on a trail. So I wanted to call that out. Okay, so I'm starting out in Eco, and I'll just show you the motor in action. So it's not overpowering me or anything. You know, we're up to like 7 or 8 miles per hour. By the way, this does have a walk mode. Should have mentioned that. But Eco, it's gentle, and it's a little bit slower. So, you know, that's kind of unique. It's a good fit for riding in crowds and stuff. And we go up to Sport. You definitely feel a little bit more power. We're up to like 12.5, 13. And now we go to Power Sport. This is where you can hit that 28 mile per hour. Cool. Yeah, we're slowing down now. Woo. Those hydraulic disc brakes feel really nice. Yeah, it's a good setup. So it does have the bigger chain ring on the front, and then like the Bosch system. And so I think it is responsive, but the ring, because it's got a larger diameter, it it's almost like it pulls the chain a little bit longer, but it's still one of the most responsive mid-drives I've tried. And I do like the way that it's kind of built into the frame like that. It seems like it'd be better protected from, you know, like roots and rocks and stuff. So that's cool. You got the adjustable display panel right there. Very cool. Whew. Well, that's the 2014 Focus Thron Impulse Speed, because it's a speed pedalec, 28 mile per hour top speed. For the full write-up on this with all the rest of the specs and stuff, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com.